then gradually I started reading one by one. And one thing I did notice is that I tended to like the most the books that were published in 1966, 67, 68, and sometimes 69. So I think these are like the 4 golden years of Malay publishing. I don't know why. That's a different kind of topic. And one of them is this novel we're going to talk about. It's been out of print for decades. So I think most of you have not read it. Has anybody here read it? Nobody? Yeah, so I can bullshit my way through this. You never know. So even the extracts where I took photo and then I scanned, I copied again, so you don't even know if these extracts are true. So you have my word to take for it. Well, that's life, you know it's fiction or not. So the name of the novel is Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya. It was published in 1967. Next, a brief introduction to sasterawan negara, Abdullah Hussain, someone I never met personally. So, but he is famous for several books. One of which was Imam, which became a movie earlier this year, I think, was it last year? And then another was Catalogue, which became very controversial. And then there's, which is the one yang jadi school text. There was another one. One of them yang jadi school text before. So this is his bibliography as published in Dewan Bahasa official web page. So if you notice something, there is at least one title missing. If you look chronologically, there is a novel in 1965, and then there's a novel in 1971. So it skips. So if there is one lesson you can take from this is, jangan percaya DBP. Don't believe everything DBP tells you. Don't follow their spelling for, Kwetiao and Persei and all that. So, as DBP is as followable as the rest of us. So I think they forgot. DBP forgot. And I've read not all his novels, but actually the first copies I read was his biography of Seniman Agong Piramli. That was the first one. And he's also, if you see the last one, he's written Kamus. And how many writers do you know who's written dictionaries? So it shows he's very prolific, very literary, and he also translated a lot because he used to work for Oxford University Press, and some of his translations include The Old Man and the Sea and The Good Man. So those are two that he did, and he did many more. Next. This is something, it really pleases me because I'm so happy he was married to a movie star. So this is his first wife, Zaitun, otherwise known as Chombi from Ibu Mertuaku, and Ton Teja from Hang Tuah. And in fact, they got married after Hang Tuah. And the other picture, sorry not so clear, also I took photo from me, you can't find it on the web. It's the editorial board of a magazine called Gelanggang Film, which was run by Piramli, and the person who was in charge of it in its later years was Abdullah Hussain. So he's there sitting next to Piramli. Piramli in the middle there, and one next one on the left. So I'm just quite chuffed that he was married to movie star. It's very shallow of me, I know. So it's like Arthur Miller and Marilyn Monroe. For those of you old enough to remember. So next. So Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya was published only twice. So the first edition came out in 67 under Syarikat Karyawan. I'll talk a bit more about Syarikat Karyawan. And then it was later republished by Utusan. And only Utusan credited the cover artist, Nordin. So I don't know who did the cover for the original one, which shows, Sultan Abdul Samad, Bengkang Bengkok, but also quite phallic. And I think the phallic imagery is quite intentional in the case of this book. So Syarikat Karyawan was a company set up by artists. I think you know how to it was a company set up by 20 literary writers. Yes, you know how it went. So they had a meeting in DBB canteen in 67 itself, or maybe late 66, and they said, you know, it's about time we have our own publishing company. You know, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we are literary people. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So let's each of us put in 1,000 ringgit. The thing is common. Each person pays 100 ringgit per month for 10 months. Yeah, let's do it. So Abdullah Hussain was in charge of this company. And of course, in the first month, only 10 people paid. So they could only afford to print one book, and this was their first book. Next, I will show you the other two novels they managed to print. One is Langkah Kiri, which if you look for it online, people are selling it for prices like 430 ringgit. I myself have a later copy. I don't have the first edition by Johan Ismail. And this one I've never even seen in person, Pemburu by Muhammad. So these are the only two novels they printed. And then after that, they tried to do a kind of a textbook for schools. And then that flopped. That they lost a lot of money from that. So and then that was the end of the company. So, but don't let this discourage you. If you're an artist, you can still set up the company. You know, people will talk about it in years' time and say, guess what happened? Yeah. So here Ismail, you'll be seeing his name later. So when Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya came out in mid 67, it was an immediate bestseller. It sold out its first print run of 5,000 copies in 2 months. Even now, in 2024, many publishers, if you tell them you can sell out 5,000 copies in 2 months, you would think that's really good. You know, that's really good. Most publishers cannot handle that, especially like a small new publisher. So it shows that there was huge demand, and the demand was so big that the book became pirated because Abdullah Hussain was in charge of distribution. So after a while, he noticed, how come nobody from Penang is ordering? Not to shame Penang people, but so how come the Penang orders have stopped? And then after that, how come the Kedah orders have stopped? So he called up, he himself is from Kedah, and then he called up the Kedah and says, oh, how come you're not ordering anymore? I said, God, but we gave money to your agent and we delivered. So it turns out somebody from the printing company was, that's a different story. So next, this is initial publicity when the book came out. This is an extract from Berita Harian. I would just like to show the whole extract, not just the ad. Of course, the ad is right there at the bottom. Hebat, gempa, Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya. Pengkritik buku terperanjat. Mintalah segera di toko-toko buku atau pada syarikat karyawan tingkat 1 bangunan Mara Kuala Lumpur. So this is when KL was so small, you don't need to put nama jalan and there were no postcodes back then. And there was Mara already, but this was before DEB. So that context comes in later. I just like the fact that it comes below a laxative ad. And this one I also chose to include because older people in the crowd will remember. There was a time when newspapers had a spot the ball contest. You know, there'd be a picture of a bunch of footballers. One of them is like about to kick, and then but the ball is erased. So you write in and you mark where you think the ball is. It sounds so stupid now, but it really engaged the whole nation. So and you know when not enough people guess wrongly, so the price kept going up. So this is to say that, you know, if you can guess 5,500 ringgit in 1967, that's a lot. But I don't know if anybody wanted, but yeah, that was just that thing. So this was the first review that came out. It's by Yahya Ismail. So to be honest, there's some cronyism involved because Yahya Ismail was a partner in Syarikat Karyawan. So, but mild cronyism lah. It's not like have to investigate Khazanah. It's like your friend, okay, your friend review. And it's not entirely a positive review, to be honest. It's not entirely a positive review. So I will translate all the Malay extracts because I said this talk will be in English. So the start off is, at first I didn't believe that because Malay used to spell novel is novel. Which I thought was very cute. If you look at writings from the 50s and 60s. It's like, oh, yeah, Nobel. Dia tak ada Nobel. So at first, I didn't believe this sort of novel can be written from Abdullah Hussain. Oh my God, it's like instant cafe Malayan. Who is so quiet and he's the sort of person who listens more than acts than does. But Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya shocked me. That's why the ad said meranjatkan. Okay, buku terperanjat. Because in the same page, this guy is saying he's terperanjat. In the same issue. I'm sorry. But this Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya shocked me because of the bravery and the sort of lustiness of Abdullah Hussain in depicting his characters. The story is more shocking than Chapman Report by Irving Wallace. Nobody knows him anymore, but Chapman Report was sort of a softball thing based on the Kinsey Report at the time. Or the works of Yahya Samad. Yahya Samad back then was a well-known Malay softball writer. I have a few of his books for research purposes. And, I can confirm that, objectively speaking, I can confirm that Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya is more explicit than anything Yahya Samad wrote. So it's true what he said here. So in the next paragraph, if Yahya Samad only tries to sort of heat the embers or the erotic embers of the readers, Abdullah Hussain gives you a conflagration that burns down your nervous system. You know? So it's like, I think that's why it sold 5,000 copies in 2 months. Right? So that's okay. Go ahead. So it became controversial, and a lot of people liked it, but also a lot of people were disgusted. So it became a sort of topic of conversation. They were saying, how could something so obscene be allowed? So they then came a panel to discuss this novel, organized by Bena in BBB. So that's the newspaper report by saying that the Malay novel Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya by Abdullah Hussain will be discussed tonight, Friday, 8 a.m. at DBP. 3 people will take part in this discussion, hosted by Bena. They are Abdullah Majid from the Ministry of Information, Nick Safian Nikarin, who is well known from UM, and Amir Muhammad from DBP. So that's a little notice. Because in the papers back then, you have to remember, people got information from papers. It's not nice WhatsApp. And Abdullah Hussain describes this forum quite well in his memoir. I really recommend his memoir as well. And he described how for 3 hours straight people were like attacking, and he sat in the back, and he didn't want to take part. He just sat as an observer. And he said that the literary people were all upset, but there were some non-literary people, such as architects and engineers, and he said they are more rational. So finally they called out and said, someone in the audience said, wait, the writer is here, let him discuss, let him defend his book. And at first he said, no, I don't want to, no, I'm just here as an observer. But they said, it's 11 p.m., we all want to go home. So if you don't say anything, we'll stay here until we get a reply. So he stood up, and he said, and he gave this speech. I have heard all your views and opinions. I'm very grateful that my writing that is not so great, I mean my sort of modest writing has gotten such a good response. There's nothing for me to add. I mean, whether it's good or not, it's up to you as a reader. But one thing I need to say, my novel is not obscene. What is obscene is in here, and then he shows his head. It's the same thing as what Pustaka later said, right? It's like, and then, and he said, I love the point below that. He said, I think Malay novels published before the war were dirtier because they always try to hide things that are taboo by putting 3 dots. And sometimes these dots last for 2 or 3 lines. These dots are obscene because they make the reader imagine all kinds of things. So my book is very straightforward. Okay, next. Okay, now without further ado, all the other subsequent quotes except one will be from Kuala Lumpur Kita Punya. This is the opening paragraph. I love looking at the opening paragraph. So actually, while looking at this, I was comparing it to the opening paragraph of Sadina and Ranjas Panagaran. What is a good opening paragraph? So it starts with, it's very early in the morning. Johan is standing at the window. His hands are hanging on the wire, mesh wire. He's looking in front at a house on stilts across the road. A yellow towel with red stripes is on his shoulder. Aside from that, he's not wearing anything, right? But the window stops at his navel. The window starts above his navel, so anybody looking outside would not know that he's not dressed at all. So that is the first paragraph. So it introduces the idea of voyeurism. Somebody is looking at him. It's his roommate, and he is looking at somebody else. So the whole book has a lot of gazing. It's like the male gaze, of course, because the main characters are all male, but also the other way around. Yeah, so it goes into this female, and it's very sensual in the sense that every single person arriving, is described in certain detail, and a lot of spying, that kind of thing going on. So this first paragraph sets it up quite well. So the Malay word for wire mesh is Dawan Mata Punai. I choose to believe it's deliberate and deliberately put in as a pun, because of course punai is a euphemism for something else. So I don't think it was put there unintentionally when you think about how economical you have to be in your opening paragraph. So whenever I see the pantun, dari mana punai melayang, I think I always but it's not as bad as ambil galah tolong jodohkan. I always have this theory that Malay pembayang is all about sex, all. Every single one. So look at that. So I'll introduce the four main characters next. So the first one we met, I'll just put their main traits. He's an exhibitionist. There are a lot of scenes throughout where people just stumble across him naked at home and he will laugh about it. And he's having an affair with a colleague who is married. But he's more interested in the younger neighbor, the one he was looking at. But he finds out she's supposed to marry someone else, so he goes back to her, and that's where the tragedy ensues at the end of the book. And then Nordin has a fiancée, but she won't go all the way, just ringa-ringa. So he goes on a movie date with a neighbor named Rosma. And this movie date is described quite explicitly, which makes you believe, no wonder Jantan is the one in the house. I think somebody there read that book and think, okay, this is what people should do. So Adnan is the one who is most similar to Abdullah Hussain, which is not to say it is him, of course, we cannot fall into the trap. So do not imagine Abdullah Hussain is attracted to a plum colleague. Normally I wouldn't mention plum, but it's mentioned so much in the book. It's like, oh, they chanting, tapi kamu. It's like, where did that come from? So I feel I should mention because it seems important. So when she's not interested, he is sad, but an older white woman plies him with alcohol in Swango Club and takes home and sleeps with him. And so that was his first time. And Nordin also first time had sex. Johan is the most veteran the player. So Tahir is a clerk, and he kissed a girl, and then he got so freaked out thinking that she would tell the family, but turns out she never did. So he ran away from Kampung to go to town. So he gets seduced by the maid next door, his name is Rotla, who seduces him by throwing onions over the divider. So it's like one onion fall down, two onion fall down. So when the third onion he thought, oh, something wrong. But he cannot perform, which is kind of a common thing. Johan herself couldn't perform in the first sex scene with Ramla, but I'm not going to show that extra. And so he's humiliated and he runs back to Kampung. So yeah, so these are the four, and basically the whole book is about how they try to get laid or fail to, and that sort of forms the basis of it. I mean, they're all quite likable, and so the book becomes a kind of comedic kind of rom. So it's a bit like Bujang 18 and sex version. So I won't quote any of the sex scenes because I don't want people like Putri to get too excited. So, but I will say it is explicit, anatomically explicit, but not in a way that is like, porn is sort of exaggerates. Whereas it always delights in showing the awkwardness of it. It's like, things don't quite work out, someone feels a little bit, this is not working, and that kind of thing. So I think it captures that because, it is a literary book, it's not. So, but I will say that the most shocking part of the book is the next quote. And I remember feeling so shocked. Let's so I will translate. It's very long, sorry. If it's raining, it's easier for us to get a chance. Says Malik. Malik is a friend of Adnan. He's not one of the four. Malik is from KL. The other four are not from KL. That's also quite significant because as people not from KL, the way they react is a bit different. And then they're driving to Pangkal Brahman to Mountbatten, which is close by. Now it's Rajalela. And then they're driving, and then it's starting to become evening, and the neon lights are flickering from the buildings and all that. It looks very Wong-Kar-wai. It doesn't say Wong-Kar-wai. So at the bus station, you can see people waiting for bus. Of course, it's a bus station. So Malik and Adnan look at all these people, and Malik slows down his car. And Malik says, actually, I don't dare to pick them up from here. And then Adnan says, pick up what? Or who? And then, but he knows actually what Malik means. Because he has heard many stories of how girls who wait in bus stops can just be taken into your car. Just by saying you want to send them home. But if you play your cards right, you can take them for a ride, and you can even take them to a hotel room. And some of them even get married to the girls that they find in bus stations. It's easier for people with cars, or than with people with buses, for how you pick up someone if you're a bus passenger, right? But there's still chance, if you can still do it. If you are hardworking and brave, and you have a hemoy face. Hemoy is a Kadal word that means like shameless, I think skin. So it's like in Indonesia you say pede banget. So it's like that. So I remember that paragraph feeling so shocking to me because it's like KL before I was born, things like this happen. So it's different if it's set now, I can just say whatever. But it's like set. So those of you with older female relatives, do ask them. Go up to them right after this, call them and say, Mommy, do you remember waiting for a bus in KL? And she will smile and says, how do you think I met your daddy? So I find it very shocking because it's that period where, because our imagination at the time is a lot based on movies, right? So a KL movie from the 60s would be Masa-Masa Manis. So, the innocent dates in Negara, innocent dates in cabaret. You don't pick up girls in bus stops and take them to a hotel room. So it's kind of a ball. So according to an article by Faisal Terani in Malaysia Kini, that Abdullah Hussain exaggerated things about KL because he knew his leadership was mainly outside KL. So he wanted to make things seem more exciting, that kind of thing. So I don't know how true that is. Go home and ask your mother first. So whenever I read Old Malay novel, I look for queer elements. I usually don't find them, but there are two here. So next is the first queer element. Okay, and this is sort of thing actually you see in a lot of novels as well, but mostly those in the 80s. So two girls, very slim, dressed sexily, walking to their table. And then Adnan is replying to Malik. There was an earlier conversation. He says, Bundan is, of course you know Bundan, it's trans. Trans, really? He said, yeah. Just listen to them talk. So these two women, so initially they're referred to as women, and then later, once the trans revolution comes, it's like women in inverted commas, which is not kind of common for writing about them. And the Malik says this is where they ply their trade every night. This scene takes place in a food court area close to Selangor Club. And so Adnan asks who are their clients? And Malik says, oh, many. Even white people come and pick them up from the streets. And Adnan, being naive, says that, but there's so many real women around. Like, and he said, Malik replies that, well, some of them prefer men to women. And especially those who don't want to deal with extra responsibilities. So that was it. So there's the first instance. And the next comes right after that, where they're still talking, and this is like a gay male kind of story, where Adnan is saying that, he knows the white man in the same building as Johan is also interested in men. So a few young men have stayed with him. And Johan's friend said once he met this white man in a cabaret, and after they got a bit drunk, he said the friend pretended to be drunk. And then the white man hugged Johan and rubbed his behind. And the friend was not that drunk, and he hightailed it out of there. And then he says, you watch out for that white man. Last time he tried to rape me. And then Johan answers with a laugh. I think also common at that time to treat male rape as something funny. He always pats my back because he see this white guy earlier when we get into the lift together. And he always asks me to go to his office, and he wants to give me a job as his personal assistant. I maintain the spelling because it was spelled as personnel assistant. And then the friend said, I was offered that job too, but I don't want to be a slut. I don't want to be a whore. So I did both laugh. So it's treated as a kind of a comedy kind of thing. So although the book has male characters entirely as the main protagonists, we also do hear from the female point of view in several times. It was sort of like reverse, and then we see how they look. So the only one of the few that explicitly says her intention is Rubia to Adnan, and where she says it's different for men. They can have friends they can be friends with as many women as they want, but they will still be considered respectable. But even if we have associated with one, after we associated with one man, people will accuse us of all kinds of things. So we have all kinds of labels. So that's it. Okay, so as set in a multiracial society, but the main characters are all Malay. So I wanted to look at also how they looked at sort of non-Malay characters. So next, there are many extracts, so I just chose two. One is an observation when going on a bus, where this is seen from Johan's point of view. It says, that fat Chinese woman has a place to sit, but she still sits standing, and after she pats the seat a few times, only then does she sit down. And Johan wonders, why do all Chinese women, young and old, big and small, always like to pat chairs before sitting down? I don't know, is this true? And from his they said, maybe because they think the previous person had piles. So that's the thing. And the next is a longer extract. This happens the morning after Taha failed to perform with the maid next door. I don't know if you noticed, all the women had names starting with R. I forgot to point it out. So there's a Rubia, Rokia, Rosma, and one more here. So, Ramla, Ramla, first one. So I don't know why, it's never explained. It must be some kind of in-joke maybe at that time. Or fetish, I don't know. So they all have a bar woman in their life. So this happens when Taha is sort of consumed by failure. He feels he has failed as a man, so he has to run away. And in this sort of mindset, he looks around him at Chowkit Market. This is about 5 in the morning. And so he's almost run over by a Chinese boy I don't know how old, who is with a bicycle, bringing a bicycle that is full of vegetables. And the Chinese guy curses him, and Taha tries to make amends by putting the bicycle aside, because the bicycle almost knocked him in. And he almost knocked into the bicycle. So he was quick enough that no vegetables spilled. But the Chinese guy still looked kind of unhappy. And then he just walked off. So, and Taha ends up thinking about this Chinese boy. And he was wondering about the life he must lead to take the vegetables to market very early in the morning. And he comes to the conclusion, no Malay would be willing to work that hard. And that's why in 1967, he says, no Malay owned businesses, small or big. And so even if you want to go to a coffee shop, even in by the street, it's owned by Indians. After 2 years, they maybe go back to their own country. What's fascinating is the final line in here, which I didn't notice the first time I read it. Final line is this, kalau orang Melayu tentang juga boleh, fikirannya mengalami. So it's like, if Malays protest against this, maybe something will happen. You know, something might emerge from it. And so he's sort of coming from this point of view that feels like he's a failure, and that's what he kind of latches on. And that's fascinating, because this is a book published in 1967, 2 years before May 13, 3 years before the new economic policy. I think it's quite fascinating that insight it provides. Taha in general, I think out of the four, he's the least likable. Because there's something bitter about him throughout, so out of the four characters. And he has this Chinese colleague named Shirley, very gebu and all that. And he seems quite upset by the fact that how come Shirley never wears baju kurung, never wears baju kebaya. But at the same time, his desk is across from her, so he will always he will drop things so that he can look up her skirt. So he has that kind of mentality, pervy mentality, perhaps. So next I have an interlude. Okay, those of you interested in spelling would notice that there is one word here that initially I didn't know what it was, because it says this Chinese coffee shop guy brings his coffee and then it says Kueh Tio. So I didn't know what Kueh Tio was. It's like, is it a type of Kueh named Tio? So I just marked it as like, I will Google this, see what it is. And then the rest is not that important, like they're drinking coffee and having this Kueh Tio. But I like this observation. He said that Kueh Tio is not good, but when you say it, you know what it's not. But when you read it, it was, this is a rare, extinct kind of Kueh. And things made in mass quantities will never be good, which of course any char eater will tell you. So he said, oh, that's why it's not good. So he couldn't finish it, and he described why it looks kind of gross now, and the thing is moldy, and not moldy, like slimy. And so it's then only I realized that, oh, that's how Kueh Tiao was spelled back then. So something like this is just an interlude, there's no meaning. Okay, next. These are some of the words I thought were a bit rare when I read the book. So some of them I took note. Adikong, Bakok, Hemoy, I explained Hemoy just now. Ijuk, Jaran, Lembo, Necis, Sedaran. I don't know if it's Tenggang Menenggang or Tenggang Menenggang. I don't know either, because the book I had no either or Italian and Brighton. So does anyone want to guess what all or most of these words mean? The winner gets a free membership to PEN Malaysia, whose president Andy is here, and whose laptop we're playing off. So, yeah, so you just try to guess that. Just try to. You don't. I don't think anybody will know all 10. Well, for starters, 2 of them are not standard spelling. Number 1 and number 10 are not standard spelling. I will know what 10 is, because in Indonesia it's not. It's a Dutch word. Ta. Aduh. Tanya-tanya is like berpesan-pesanan dengan kawan. So nobody has to try. Adikong is not the standard spelling. The standard spelling is ADI. It's actually from the French, Adikong, which means like bodyguard. So at that time, if a man is walking with a woman, that guy is Adikong. So it's like the bodyguard. So it's all those Malay words from French, which I never knew. The rest are, you look at yourself. Okay. Oh, pointer is in Indonesia is trottoir, which is sidewalk. But in this book, it's spelled as pointer. It's actually trottoir. The rest, please look it up. You'll be quite pleasantly surprised. So I have some quotes to do with colonial. Of course, KL has just recently Merdeka 10 years ago. And also, I think what's also important that we tend to overlook was that in the 50s, KL was not really thought of as a cultural center. Right? Everything was in Singapore. So I think some people, maybe now we forget that. We think that, oh, Piramli made movies in KL. Well, he did, but his earlier movies were all in Singapore. And so it's like a KL that's just starting to be, even though it was never considered such a big center at the time. And so there's just two anecdotes I found. One is Johan about to go into his office, and there's a white woman. And he says, "Good morning, miss." And he says, "Oh, good." And she says, "Good morning, you're very early, John." "Oh, yes, I'm a bit early." Yes. I imagine he would say like that. And John is proud because he's called John, because it sounds so English. So just by using that name, he feels he has entered the intelligentsia. I mean, it says Korea intellect, but it just means like higher social class, like pansos. And that's why he likes to speak English with people he doesn't know. So that's like a hangover, that kind of thing. The second one, I said, can you just say kind of a stereotype of a Bengali security guard, like a doorman who goes out of his way to open the door of a white man's car. And the white man feels proud because he's treated well, and the doorman also feels proud because the white man proves of hero. So there are many other examples. So the most interesting one has to do with Adnan. Next. So on the left, it's about Adnan taking shit from his white boss at a company, at this publishing company. And of course, don't imagine it's related to any person in real life. And he says the white boss, likes to scold them by going to their table and say they're not doing well enough, they're not hardworking enough. And the boss always says that, Malays as a race, cannot be given responsibility. They're lazy, they have no initiative. So this is quite early in the book, 52, page 52. Later, Adnan sleeps with a white woman, and he frames it as a way of like the Empire Strikes Back. So it goes, although Miss Lane is kind of old, she's not married, and she's not a mother, and she's white, and she's a married list. So it's hard to get this kind of opportunity as a colored man. Literally, he feels lucky he has this opportunity, even though since the colonized lands have been decolonized, it's not that rare an opportunity anymore. But for Adnan, he feels it's rare because he's kind of insecure as a person. So he feels fortunate that he can taste the victory of independence, Pauline can translate better. To taste the victory of independence, even though it may not be what independence was meant to be about. But as a colored person, he wants to use his opportunity to raise his stature and to raise his self-worth, maybe even to have revenge. So I thought that's kind of, it's like, what's that Sudanese seasonal migration to the north? Franz Fanon. So there are many references to KL landmarks, so I picked them because of this talk in Kalam. This is about the zebra crossing near is it still Jalan Melaka now? Well, it's next to Momentum Dela, where Johan, because the point is that Johan, they are not natively from KL, and Johan feels he's a real KLite when he no longer crosses the road at the zebra crossing. He will cross away from it. So it shows that he really, this is his place, that kind of thing. So that's kind of an amusing thing. And the other one is when they're looking at the confluence of the river. So the benteng next to the steel railings and iron railings. So sometimes the river will overflow. And where the two rivers meet, the waters become in two colors. So this is something I never saw anybody ever say. Sungai Klang is white or clear, and Sungai Gombak is merah or polluted. I don't know, did anybody have that impression? It was seen as one river was polluted, one river is not. And then the red earth from Sungai Gombak brings good meaning, has a good meaning because it means that development is being done. People are building all around you. They are building TRX. They had to start doing that. So I thought that was, I've actually never seen that observation. So I thought that was interesting to show. Next. This is an amusing scene. You may read it at your leisure. Ruby's boss is trying to get into her pants, and he takes her on a drive to Bukit Bintang. So, Cik Ruby suka bersocial. Are you social? Social used to have a kind of double meaning. Whereas, especially if a girl has a reputation for being gadis social. It's not a compliment, right? So, and then she says, you like to socialize? And she says, yeah. Oh, so you always go out at night, the boss asks. And this is why they're driving in Bukit Bintang looking for parking. So I thought that parallel of what he is doing, looking for parking, and also trying to get an opportunity, I think that's quite cute, the way it's done. And he said, yeah, sometimes, but not often. And she asked, oh, where? To Federal, to Berlin, to Kowloon. I think out of this, only Federal still exists. Right? The other two don't. So it's like showing off that he knows these hotels. And then, he's mentioning such fancy places. Oh, I just go to small places. Oh, let's go to Merlin one night. And then that's when he found parking near a cafe. And then, and then she has a kind of question, is your wife coming along? So it ends that. I mean, it goes further. This extra ends it. The next one, where Malik is taking Adnan on a tour of KL at night. He's showing him around. And they go to Jalan Gilamak is now known as Jalan Duta, but it's interesting that in this extract the two terms are used because Jalan Duta's name had only been changed less than 10 years ago. And so they go up to Bukit Keni, the hill, and they see cars parked. At first it looks like nobody is in the cars. So when they shine the headlights, and then you can see heads sort of separating in the car. So that's where it's a make-up point. Nothing that shocking because we've all been there. Not everybody can afford hotel rooms. So, but what I found interesting is that when they drive by this area, and every car they see has like a couple in it, which if you believe Faisal Terani's theory, is like, it's made up. It wasn't really fully like that. Then I like the next line because it's kind of a bit melodramatic. It says, in the morning you can see discarded tissue papers from the cars. He actually doesn't really go there. He said that on those discarded tissue papers you will find not just lipstick and so on, but tears. So that's why I chose this extra line. Unlike his other famous novel, Imam, nobody in this book prays. They wake up whenever they want, go sleep when they want. There's no reference to even SpongeBob. But there are some references to religion, so to highlight them, these are two. One is Taha starts to think about gambling. He has never gambled, but he always buys lottery tickets. You can think of, back then, lottery tickets is not considered gambling, like something very light. Some people say lottery is gambling, but some say it's okay, including religious leaders, because they said the money is used for welfare, social welfare. About haram, I don't, he's not so particular about, he's not so concerned about the haram elements, because once it's religious people say it's okay, then it's on them. It's on them that other people buy lottery tickets. And but he just buys it for luck. So there was a time when newspapers had lottery numbers, but no longer. And the next is when Johan suspects that he may have made Rama pregnant. So he suddenly thinks of God for the first time. And he says, oh God, no, I'm dead. And he now thinks about God. But can God help him at this stage? But it may be too good. Earlier when he was on Rama's stomach, he thought this was heaven on earth, because this is how God rewarded him for being handsome. And I think all handsome people do think this way. So we have to ask them. And so he is grateful to God because making him handsome, and he has many opportunities to spill his seed, I guess. He never has to pay, and he never has to. He never has to worry about VD, I guess, and he never has to worry about children. So that's when he might have money. So next, for fun, I also when I read older novels, I tend to know what is it back then that is similar now. So there are several. So I just like to highlight three. But they all take buses. They're working class, all four of them, and they occasionally encounter richer people, but give them rides in their cars, like money. But the rest of it is buses. And the book is full of the buses are here, the buses, especially in the beginning. So describing that many people are waiting at the bus stop, and Adnan is worried. If everybody that gets into the bus, then there's no space for everybody. And then, because it's so crowded, and then somebody says, there are two more at the back. Everybody looks, and sure enough, there are two more. So, the moral of the story, you wait for long, no bus, and then several other ones. And then this next scene is in PJ, where Adnan is looking for Johan. And he knows Johan has gone to his girlfriend. So, they think of what is a place that has not many Malays. So they go to PJ section 14. And so he says, let's go to PJ section 14. He's not sure where it is, but he thinks it might be that because he couldn't possibly be in a place with many Malays. So, no matter what, people always want to poke their nose into your business, even people who pretend not to. So, the moral of the story, which people still believe in, if you want to have an illicit sex life, don't stay in place with many Malays. Yeah? So this is it's not a Bumiputra privilege. It's the opposite. So, and then the third is just a cute thing where if you don't want to go to work, you want an MC, and everybody knows there will be a doctor who will send you an MC. Although back then it said that beberapa ringgit sahaja. I think it was later mentioned it's like 3 ringgit. So, and there are doctors that their only job is to give out MCs. So, MC in my language. Yeah. So, what is the lesson of this book? The lesson, I think, is varied. It's not a very complex kind of book in terms of characterization, but we do get a sense of people struggling to get by, and the sort of camaraderie among friends, but it doesn't always last, because at one point towards the end, one of them kind of betrays the other, because he doesn't want to get into trouble as well. So it's not so good. So it's a black and white kind of picture of life in the city, which perhaps exaggerates certain the badness of city life. So one lesson, there's a stray dog named Blackie that comes to their house, and they would feed it this Blackie as a female dog. And towards the end, Blackie has a sex scene, which I will save you from. What? So when Blackie is sexing with another dog, the book is not that shocking. So there's this sex scene, and everybody, all the people in the house, as well as the neighbors, gather around to look. So I've spared you the description of what they're looking at. But one of them comes to the conclusion, I think it's Adnan, comes to the conclusion, man and animal, we are the same. So if it's not men chasing women, it'll be women chasing men. So he's distracted, as part of the meeting, the Blackie, drags the male along during the mating ceremony. And so why is there so much pain? Because here, Adnan at this point is also kind of in despair. So his conclusion is, it's all about pain. It's not just animals. Humans also feel pain. They go through life with pain. It's like the one constant, they say that. If not physical, then spiritual pain, emotional pain. So that's one. Second is, next. I like this scene because it's Adnan and Ruby in a restaurant, and behind them is an Indian man drinking beer, and Adnan turns it into a life lesson because Adnan says, Ruby, look at that Indian guy drinking beer behind us, to the right of us. So Ruby looks, the Indian guy is in a singlet, is dirty, and he's looking at a glass of beer that had just been poured. And next to the glass is a half-filled bottle. And the bubbles are going above the rim. And he's not drinking it. He's looking at the beer cup. So Adnan says, Adnan is just trying to impress her with his sort of deepness. He says, look, he can't possibly earn that much. But look at him, he enjoys life. Like that beer means so much to him, and he's relishing it. So he wants to enjoy his feelings and then only drink it. So he's looking at it with so much desire. And that desire is at its peak before you drink it. Once you drink it, then it's not at its peak. So it may mean nothing. I just thought it's a good thing that this Indian guy is just trying to have a beer, but he becomes fed into this life lesson through no fault of his own. So next, so you thought that the title of the talk is rhetorical. It's not. So whose scale is it anyway? I have an answer based on two extracts. So you will see both extracts. That's one a bit long. This is a bunch of people just arriving to work, and they are part of a loose group called themselves Club Malaysian. So a bunch of guys, normally like office boys, beyond somewhat lower level in terms of staff. They come to office early and they gather around and they check out. Oh, it's not mine. Oh, sorry. And they check out the chicks who are coming by. And they check out the chicks coming by. So it's so there are not institutions of, whose thighs are whiter than others and more full than others and how hard the slit goes out and all that. So I'll spare you those descriptions, but those are how, they're quite amusing sometimes. But they're waiting for the last person to come, and when they come, they sort of greet him with a kind of a mock song. Right? It's like content also interesting, but not so important. But it's like they're sort of making a nuisance of themselves by the side of the street because they're sitting loudly and all that to check out these girls who are coming. And then Tahir is embarrassed. He said, "Why are you drawing so much attention? Why this?" And one of them says, "Hey, what are you worried about? KL is ours." Right? So it's like bravado. And others thinking about it. Oh, KL is ours. It's like, so it's like an initiation ritual kind of thing. So this is quite early on in the book. page 39. And it's the only time the phrase occurs explicitly like that. But I think the real point is that when you contrast it to a scene almost at the end, this is like less than 10 pages at the end, where something horrible happens, I won't spoil it, and Taha has to go back home, but he cannot get a taxi. No taxi will stop. And his observation is that he's looking at taxis and with the lights, and some of them some of them are taxis. Some of these cars are taxis, but they all have passengers. And he said that when taxis have passengers, they behave macam setan, not literally, but like they behave arrogantly, as if these streets are theirs. So he's in a position where he needs something, this car, and people around it are not stopping for him. So it's in a way it's saying that these are the people who have actual power, people who own things, and these are the people who will always be in the care. I mean, not such a groundbreaking observation, but I like the fact that I think you're meant to be together. Okay, next. Okay, I have an epilogue. So I was thinking about that. So all these exaggerated chaos, not like that. So I have no way of knowing because I wasn't around then. And then I was reading his memoirs again, Abdullah Hussain's memoirs, and he described a part of KL back then in the mid-60s. So this is how that place is described. Next. At that time, Jalan Perkins, which is now Jalan Raja Alam, has a weekly market that is famous in KL, where Malays from Minang Malays, they sell things in warung made of wood and zinc. And near the bridge, the narrow bridge from Jalan Perkins to Jalan Hill, which is now Jalan Raja Abdullah. So this whole thing is in Kampung Baru. And every night, near dusk, a lot of people will go to this narrow road, the narrow bridge. Not so much to shop, but they want to rub up against each other, So there's this narrow bridge off Jalan Raja Alam now. And that bridge is known as Jambatan Singgong. Singgong is in you touch, right? The only place in KL where men and women can touch each other without causing alarm. And then because that bridge can only fit one person. So I thought that's interesting. I didn't know that. So yesterday, who's the guy? Fuad, the one from Kampung Baru, who does the Kampung Baru tours. Fuad. So yesterday I met him, Fuad, and I showed him this paragraph. And he said, Cik Fuad, Kampung Baru dulu. Ada macam ni. And he looked at, he read it, and I said, yeah. We didn't call it Jambatan Singgong lah. We call it Jambatan Geser. So it shows that, so maybe, KL really is erotic wonderland after all. So that is the end of it. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions. We have how many hours? 20 minutes left, yeah. Thank you for my time, people. Yes? Questions? Okay. She's asking why I didn't read out.
No, I wanted to ask, do you have any plans to restore this book under your level? Fix it retro maybe?
The family doesn't allow.